Welcome to College Unbound, the weekly podcast by Focus Collegiate, dedicated to diverse learning in the college environment. Thank you for joining us. I'm Jane Taylor, here with Focus Collegiate founder Grant Liebersberger. Hi, Grant.
Hello, Jane.
A great deal of news coverage has been focused on students and teachers. This week, we're going to focus on parents. Many colleges are using extended breaks or remote learning as COVID precautions, which means more young adults than ever are home now than would be during a quote-unquote normal academic year. Some parents feel like they're in the hot seat. College age, this is an important time to become yourself. It's a time of individuation. Students find themselves, build their independence, figure out what they want to be in their life. Staying home makes this fledging much more difficult for students, and it makes it more difficult for the parent to let go. How are Focus Collegiate parents responding?
Well, I think you've acknowledged the challenge, and it's kind of a trifecta for our students and our families. For the typical Focus Collegiate student, because they have challenges in the self-structuring arena, by not having the structure of a typical school day or a college day where part of their routine have to go attend classes, have to go attend clubs, that's disrupted greatly. And so that's the first disadvantage. The second disadvantage is that these students are living under their parents' roofs when they wouldn't normally be. And so the parents have not had the opportunity to let go in a way that most parents do by waving goodbye after they've moved the student into the dorm, which is a natural transition rite of passage point. And so between the lack of self-structuring capability of the student, the parent, not having a natural endpoint to adolescence, frankly,
Right.
and then all of a sudden the student, because the parent understands who their student is and they know they're going to get behind, parents continue in their former parenting strategy, which is adequate and appropriate developmentally for a high school student, but it infringes on the student's ability to become an independent learner on their own. And it's not anybody's fault, frankly. It is just the circumstance. And so our parents are up against it a little bit because it's almost incumbent upon them to acquire a skill set that they haven't had. Because normally parents are dealing with, I'm not hearing from my child who's in college. I hope things are going well. That's what parents normally struggle with. But now parents are faced with, did Jimmy do his homework? I see him laying in bed all day. I'm concerned about screen time. And so parent anxiety is quite high because although these students may be doing this in a normal college setting, it's right under their nose. And it's not in a parent's job description, as we say, to watch your kid fail. And so that's the kind of the three elements of the challenge of this era is, and particularly for parents. And we can talk about how we deal with that, but I think you've correctly identified the problem.
I've never really thought about the moment of waving goodbye to my parents, and I can see them. This was a long time ago for me, and I could see my parents driving away, and suddenly there was this sort of, oh no moment where, okay, I got to get it together. And
Right.
if you're just going back to your room and going to your desk and turning on your Zoom meeting or your, whatever the platform is, and going to school that way, you don't have that sort of moment, I have to get it together right now kind of thing.
Right.
The immediacy is completely gone.
Sure.
And
we have students who are trying to decide whether to go to campus and be isolated, because that's an option, but you're seriously isolated in your dorm and DoorDash is your friend. And or having 3 squares and your bed at home with mom cooking. And given the choice, if I was 18 years old and that was one of my options, I'd say in this uncertain time, I'll choose certainty, which is home. And parents struggle with, do I encourage my young person to go into a higher risk environment, or do I just keep them under our roof where I know that they can be at least safe? And it's a poor choice, sadly.
Yeah.
In this era, and hopefully we will be moving beyond it shortly.
Yeah. Not that we can address the difficulty of making that decision. Should my son or daughter go on campus or should they stay home? That's a different kettle of worms, kettle of fish altogether, can of worms. How does Focus Collegiate help parents cope with the realities they're facing day to day of the desire to overmanage their, I want my kid to be successful, and yet parents know that they have to, okay, they're an adult now. Maybe this is wishful thinking, but how does Focus Collegiate help parents cope with some of the difficulties they're facing?
The first thing that we do is that we call it for what it is. Parents have had a history, oftentimes, of overfunctioning for their son or daughter. That's what got them through high school sometimes in a lot of ways. And so we start in the beginning of our admissions process, usually around this time for the fall, start talking to our parents about what strategies are you doing now to prepare the student for independence? How are you letting go in what areas? Are you having the student take their own medication? Are you having the student make their own breakfast? Like what are the life skills in which you're engendering right now that will set both the parent and the student up for success? Because if the parent sees the student mastering some of these life skills, they're less apt to worry. And
Mm-hmm.
when the student goes to college, and then that also facilitates the letting go of the parents. And so we talk about this with the parents in the admissions process, but we also continue throughout the Focus Collegiate experience with our students and families by doing ongoing parent coaching. What that looks like is oftentimes we partner with our parents to make sure that they have enough information about what's happening with the student on their campus so that they feel comfortable letting go. So our team
Mm-hmm.
will check in with the parents once a week or as needed to make sure the parents have that information. And we promise there's going to be no surprises. And just by doing that, it gives parents license to say, okay, somebody else has this. I can let go and start working on myself. Once
Mm-hmm.
we have that as a basis, then we ask our parents to engage with our parent coaching platform. Our parent coaching platform, in partnership with Wise Roots Parenting, they have about 27 different modules that they can self-pace work through that addresses virtually every issue that may arise. We don't do this as a lockstep parent training program, but what we do is we offer that as a reference point for our parents so that we can target very specific per family dynamics. And then we also give all of our families a parent coach that works by virtue of that platform and and then works with the parents individually a couple of times a semester and even prior to the run up to the collegiate experience to make sure that the parent is taking care of their own needs. One of the reasons why we, for lack of a better word, contract out our parent coaching is because we can't have the same people that are working with the student work with the parents, because
Right.
invariably the conversation will be about the student, not about the parents. And so we
Mm-hmm.
actually need for there to be a separation there. So the
Yeah.
parents are actually talking about themselves and not themselves in context of their son or daughter, which is
Right.
ultimately, in psychological terms, we're reducing the enmeshment if it exists between parent and student. And most parents ostensibly, will say in the admissions process or the enrollment process that, I am ready to let go. And
Mm-hmm.
they say it and they mean it, but oftentimes they don't know what they don't know about actually what it takes to let go. And so
Right.
we
Right.
have a structured way of addressing it. And I know of no other way of doing this effectively without having a parent component to a program such as ours.
I think it's brilliant that you've outsourced some of the parent support. I hadn't thought about a coach coaching both the student and the parent and how enmeshed, as you say. I looked at the Wise Roots program over the last several days, and I was really impressed with the tools it provides parents for assessing the situation and sort of de escalating drama and trauma and problems and arguments. And it was really, really good. Really
Yeah,
good.
the Wise Roots platform is absolutely unique, and we've always been, or at least I in my career have always been searching for a way for parents to get their needs met kind of more in a self-paced manner. And
Mhm.
so the technology allows for that, which is cool. And it breaks it down into concepts, which I also think is cool because we can refer back to very specific concepts after the parent, or while the parent is engaging in their parent support meetings. We also bring parents together once a month for a parent seminar. And
Oh,
that
cool.
also is helpful in that it allows parents to connect with other Focus Collegiate parents, all of which have very similar profiles. So these parents instantly connect with each other and, kind of are eagerly awaiting the next parent seminar, less about our content and more an opportunity to connect with other parents and create some community amongst themselves. And that's one of my favorite parts of my job is having parents connect with each other and find, just like we have students find their tribe, we have parents also who are finding their tribe, which is really
Yeah.
gratifying.
Yeah, that is. I love the broad connecting parents to one another, the broad picture, and also the the approach that Focus Collegiate takes to parents is not dissimilar to the approach Focus Collegiate takes with students.
Right. Yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
It's comprehensive. And that's the idea. Any one part of the system that's surrounding the student or the family can impact academics or life skills or social integration or emotional liability. And so you have to, at least in the context of our students, have to pay attention to all of it just because you don't necessarily know what part might disrupt the system. And so by keeping all the plates spinning, to use another metaphor,
Hmm.
you are the most likely to have success.
Hmm. Let's dig down a little bit to a couple of those plates, if we can. It's part of human nature to solve problems, right? It gives us a sense of meaning. More important than just solving general problems, we want to solve problems for our kid. And in light of this natural instinct, how does Focus Collegiate help parents learn to let go of the control they might want to express over their kids' success?
That's an excellent question. I'm not sure if we've mastered it, uh, but but I think really by us being a presence and having the comprehensive approach that we do with our families, and also the competency of our team helps parents manage their own expectations.
Mm.
Most of our parents and students frankly come from high achieving families and high achieving communities, and so oftentimes our students gaps in their learning profile are magnified in context of
Hmm.
that community. And so managing expectations of the entire system and also of the freshman year or the college reentry semester, and trying to help parents define what really is going to be a win this semester. And most parents know that straight A's is not the win for their kid.
Hmm.
Most of them know that they'll accept a little bit of mediocrity in the academic department as long as the student is having a robust social life and, having fun at college. By us helping parents manage their own expectations of what does a successful semester look like, and
Hmm.
then trying to cater our communications to parents to their expectations, then we're more likely than not to help parents manage their own anxiety and be able to let go. But again, we have to talk about it in context. And most of our parents have a very realistic view of what their student is capable of and not. And yet they hire us to be the insurance policy, which is also another facet of letting go as a
Hmm.
family. And as a result, that parent comfortability, as a result of everything I just talked about, is how we get out front of problems, I guess, not solve them, but we get out front of them.
Hmm. The process, it sounds very like the intentional change theory activation, having the goals and knowing the reality and honest self-assessment, and then experiential learning goes for parents as well. You said something about parent anxiety, and I'm sure that parents can or may have a great deal of anxiety about the future of their student, especially today in this world. I wonder how the Focus Collegiate process works when parents are also worked up and emotional, and they're frightened and overwrought about the challenges their young adult faces.
Yeah. I think it begins with the experience of our team and everyone who interacts generally with our parents on a parent level is a clinician, is a mental health clinician in their own right. So we do our best to separate out what is clinical, if you will, what is the parent stuff and what's the student stuff. And by delineating those particular needs that we're able to have parents work on what falls in their bucket and also be able to hold a mirror up to the parents on what is happening with their student as a result of them and their proposed anxiety or fears and how that behavior is impacting student volition.
Mm-hmm.
Because oftentimes we don't, if we have blind spots, we need someone to tell us that, what's happening in our bucket is impacting their kid. And this is a way to maybe reframe or put that energy somewhere else. And oftentimes our parents just need the license to be able to do that. The way that you couch that support and coaching actually does require some expertise and training because the anxiety is real. These are parents, it's not in a
Yeah.
parent's job description to watch your kid fail. So oftentimes parents are like, well, this worked in the past. Well, it probably worked in the past in context of the student being an adolescent, but now they're a young adult. And so it requires a different skill set. And oftentimes we just need to nudge our parents in the direction of that new skill set that they know that they already need to employ, but don't know exactly how.
New skill set and also new perspective, both on the student and on the parent role.
That's correct. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's a change, which is again, in this time of students being under their parents' roof, it's a developmentally appropriate shift in the relationship, but oftentimes no one's been here before. So, we have to do a fair amount of conversations about what that probably should look like versus, and again, when you're dropping your student off on college and you're driving away, that provides a certain, as we say, rite of passage or a certain moment in which, a moment of demarcation. Whereas the student just waltzing down to the basement to take classes is not helpful.
Yeah. Without that clear demarcation of, okay, that's my high school life. This is my college life for the parents as well as the students. It sounds like so much more self-awareness is called for, both for the students and for the parents.
The other thing that I'll say too is that I've neglected is that a lot of this stuff too for our families who are inbound and the students who are inbound in the fall, we start during the summer cohort as well. So we have a 3-week experience that we build in Boston in person that is really a mock college experience for our students for 3 weeks, so that we can, first of all, establish relationships with our students, but also test them a little bit in the real world. And then also we have a unique opportunity to start partnering with our parents in a pre-college setting. So we can also begin to, because at the end of 3 weeks, we may not have solved all of the impending challenges that we see, but we have started the process and we have a plan. And that goes true with the parents as well. We've established a relationship. Parents are able to say, well, now you see how my kid is. And and we kind of knew that already on paper, but I think for some reason, parents wanting to have someone else join with them in their own anxiety and experience of their student is a helpful start to our relationship with our families.
Mm-hmm. The summer cohort, well, right now during the pandemic and maybe in the future fall semester, who knows where we're going to be, it sure seems like it sort of gives like a soft launch to the demarcation of your adulthood. Okay, here's high school. Here's the soft launch to adulthood.
Right. It has a little less consequence to it in terms
Mhm.
of, no one's going to fail the summer cohort. But again, it's still very grounded in what a student will experience and what a family will experience when they drop their kid off, because we have a dormitory right there in Boston, and the
Yeah,
parents come and they
love
move them
it.
in and then they drive away.
Yep.
And it's kind of like, this is your training ground. This is your test. And
Hmm.
because you're going to do it again in September or in late August. And so
Hmm.
let's see how this feels this time. And then you'll
Hmm.
be prepared, maybe,
Yeah.
which is, for our students and our families, usually to a student and a parent, they have a harder time with transitions than maybe others. And so homage to that in terms of preparation is also a nice benefit to the summer cohort.
Hmm. Going back to something you said a little bit earlier about how the experience the parent is having, maybe the experience of anxiety or whatever challenges the parent is facing, these are real challenges, and this is a real anxiety. One of the things I was wondering about is sometimes parents need to give themselves a little time out. How does Focus Collegiate convince parents it's okay for you to take some time out? You need to step
Well,
away.
thank you for asking this question. It's my favorite one. So in the beginning of the enrollment process with families, we're pretty clear right from the get-go that we're going to help the parent get a new hobby. That's
Yeah.
exactly how we say it. That's exactly how we frame it. That's exactly how it goes. And so part of this again is telling parents right from the get-go that we got this and you can let go. And then
Hmm.
we're going to show you all the ways in which this is going to be possible on your end. And by setting up that expectation in the beginning, when we say it again and again, as we proceed through the semester, particularly at inflection points of midterms, finals, the first quizzes, we're able to say, remember when we talked about you getting a new hobby? Yeah, now's the time. and
Hmm.
so,
Hmm.
and so we're able to gently say, this kind of feels like your bucket, not the student's bucket. Maybe this is a good
Hmm.
opportunity to bring this up with your parent coach. And that way we can provide parents with an off ramp to go work on their own stuff
Hmm.
and or go make time for themselves. That's not something necessarily that we can do in our normal course of talking about a student, is telling parents to just buzz off. But
Yeah.
because they're paying customers, and and they have expectations and all of these things, so they're enlightened consumers, and so they want to know they're getting their fair money's worth. And at the same time, we're earning our money by telling them to get a new hobby. And
Yeah.
so and
Well,
and we do it with love and concern and humor, and all of that stuff, because really parents, they just need to hear it. They already know it. They need someone else to tell them it's okay.
hmm, well, knowledge is power. And in this case, it's the power to let go. As you were talking about your relationship with parents, it made me think about resonant relationships. And here it is, the Focus Collegiate team and the parent support coaches developing these wonderful resonant relationships with parents so that parents feel free to make the changes that they need to make.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Confidence is everything. Confidence in the process, confidence in our team, confidence in the student capabilities. That's why we also ensure during our enrollment process that we have the right student that will benefit from what we have. We're not just plugging kids into slots. We are actually, it's a pretty exhaustive process whereby we talk with the parent, the student, the collateral service people that have worked with the student, whoever the referral source is, to make sure that this is the most likelihood of success.
Hmm.
And if we don't see that, then there's obviously other organizations or people who can serve a different type of student. But if they come in through our portal and enroll with Focus Collegiate, then they become part of our family. And that is the trusting and resident relationship, is that every one of our Focus Collegiate students and families are part of our family.
Hmm. What a great place to leave it. Unless there's anything else you'd like to add, I'm certainly happy to be part of the Focus Collegiate family.
Us too.
Thanks so much for this conversation. As a parent, it's so helpful to know that this is happening, that, some of us as parents, this is the first time our child has gone to college. And so it's a whole new experience for parents as well. Thanks for making it an easier experience for parents too.
Our pleasure. It's we get it. We get it.
Okay. Thanks a lot, Grant.
All right,
Nice to
thanks,
talk
Jane.
to you.
You bet.